Hey everyone, my name is Rooster, and welcome back to Mechabellum. In today's video, I'm going to be Fang Gaming, and not just against anyone, against none other than Habsburg, who managed to make his way to the finals of the MAG1 League last season. So we're about as high up on the ladder as you can get, and as of late, it seems like more and more people have been picking up Fang Gaming again. This used to be a very popular strat back in 2023, and then it kind of fell off after that because of some nerfs to Fangs, and some other things that happened along the way, like Fortress nerfs, which were kind of the main unit to play alongside the Fang. But now it seems like the Fang has kind of made a comeback. It has received some buffs, I believe. As of late, the Fortress has also received some, and yeah, we see it more and more. So I decided to pick a Fang pack, naturally, starting with Steel Balls and Fangs, and I'm going to go for 2 more sets of Fangs here on the left side to try and create at least a little bit of pressure on that left side. And I'm a Rhino specialist, so this is quite a nice one because one of the few units that you can play with Fang is Rhino. You can also play Steel Ball in some cases. My 2 favorite runs, at least the ones that I think scale the best, are either Hacker or Fortress because they both have access to bubbles, which help a lot against all hosts of spells. But yeah, let's see what we get to play here. We have access to that Rhino, so that is an option. My opponent Habsburg is a training spec, and he starts with Sledgehammers and Fangs, adds 2 Arc Lights, levels one of them to level 2. We do manage to kill that, and it does give a significant amount of experience, so maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to level that Steel Ball sometime soon, which would help at least with the pressure, because what's important with Fangs is getting them some levels early on. They're actually a very potent late game carry. This is a board that scales super well. Mainly because Fangs have really high DPS for their cost. It's way higher than something like Mustang, and because of that, because of their high attack, they actually don't mind things like armor too much. They break shields way faster than Mustangs do, and why this is important is because typically Mustang is going to be your main answer to Fangs. So that's what you're competing with, but it means that long term, a Fortress Fang comp will typically tend to win against a Fortress Mustang comp, at least if the levels are the same. Now here, round number 2, we have a haste module show up. Good item. I wouldn't mind picking that up. I was briefly considering the Elite Hacker, but it felt like it was a little bit too early. It is expensive to get those on the board this early, and it kind of signals to my opponent what I want to do. So really, it's either a skip here, I think. You can go mass-produced Fortress as well. Although I think if you want to go mass-produced Fortress, it's better to run a tech bar that has both Fang production and Fist on there, the Rocket Punch. I don't. I run Range and Overload instead, and I think that when you run that setup, you don't necessarily want to be nerfing your Fortresses, right? Mass-produced Fortress is very good with techs that don't suffer from it, like Fang Spawn. I mean, that remains the same no matter the cost of the Fortress, and Barrier. But I don't have access to that Fang Spawn tech. So here I will simply go for a haste module, which I decide to put on the Fang here that got the most experience. I do tend to kind of look at that. Okay, I guess this one actually did, but at the same time I did want to keep it safe a little bit. So it's one of the Fangs that has the most experience and one of the ones that is more at the back. I could have also put it on this one, I guess, but I felt like those Fangs were a little too far removed. So yeah, kind of a small thing there, but trying to explain my thought process. I do go for double Fang this turn with range enhancement as well. I believe that is after selling one of my Steel Balls. Ideally, I think what I should have done is sell one of my turrets here. That way I could have maybe sold the other one and not have to sell my Steel Balls. But already here I was thinking I'm likely not going to be staying within Steel Balls. My opponent has Arc Lights, has Sledgehammers. This doesn't feel right to use that unit. I'd much rather get into Hacker or Fortress. Mainly, my mind was going to Hacker because I feel like it's a bit more affordable, but hey, who knows? Maybe we get a unit drop and then my mind might change. Right side Fang, able to defend quite well and even pick up a level there, so not a bad result here. We lose a bit of hit points, but it's not the end of the world. Round number 3, Underground Threat does show up. I was a little bit afraid of that since I don't think level 1 Fang beats 1.5 packs of Crawlers. Supply enhancement is available too, but I don't like this card so much, even though it's the first round it can pick up. So technically it is the best round to get it if you want to, but you know, the reward of that card is just not that impressive. You put yourself down on resources for 3 rounds, and then on the 4th round, you finally start making 50 resources, which is at that point on turn 7. And in comparison to the amount of resources you get on turn 7, which is 1400, right, excluding some of the specialists, it's not that big of a difference. So that's why I don't like the card. I think it puts you too much behind in the early rounds where, you know, having 150 resources means a lot more than getting that 50 on round 7, 8, and above. So here I decided to go for the underground threat, really trying to play it quite safe, pick up the levels on the Fangs where I can. I also go for a deep flank, trying to pull away some of these units with a Rhino and a Fang. And I'm kind of trying to set up here for my round 4, where I will get another Rhino. This is kind of why I bought the first one, kind of thinking, oh, maybe I'll be able to go for something like armor, and then at least I have, you know, already a Rhino on the board to benefit from that tech pickup. Now, it's not too successful. We lose this round the hardest, and we're going to take a fair amount of damage. Opponent picked up that smart Arclight card, and for now, he seems to be doing well. Wasn't feeling too bad about this, though, because Arclight tends to not be able to beat Fangs late game, so as long as I manage to get there, I should be in a fine spot. Round 4, we get the unit reinforcements, and immediately my eyes are drawn to that fortress. I was planning to go for hackers because my opponent invested so much in Arclights and has some sledgehammers, but hey, if fortress gets offered to me, I will simply pick it up, and it's much better to just use a unit drop rather than to sell it for something else. If you can make use of it, better to keep it. And, well, Fortress Fang is a proven strong composition, so, you know, why would I try to make something else work here? Let's just follow the unit drop and do our best. So I also get my Rhino. It's a big turn here. We get another Fortress on the right side to kind of try and create some pressure over there. Keep in mind, I am selling out of my steel balls. I'm also selling out of my turrets at this point, since they're not really going to do too much. I'm the one pushing in, so there's no way my turret is going to be able to shoot at anything. We keep the Rhino, we try and move it in here. Fortress, my opponent picked it up as well. Puts it in front of that level 1 Rhino, it doesn't stand a chance. Maybe this one, though, can make its way in. A debuff would be fantastic. The Fortress, however, turns around. A Marksman helps out, and oh, right before we get to the tower, sadly the Rhino goes down. I was pretty happy with that attack. I thought that it would have gotten in, considering the diagonal is quite open, but we get stalled for a little bit too long. And the Arclights here do a pretty good job of stalling the right side. I even lose my Fortress. And looks like we will be losing this round. Maybe the Fangs can do some damage mitigation. That would be nice. Doesn't really look like it. And round 4 is not ours to take either. So for now, we've lost 4 rounds in a row, and we find ourselves down to 2.3k. However, we have kind of completed our setup, right? Round number 5, Barrier shows up. It's a good item, but I will likely want to grab Barrier myself on the Fortresses. So I just decided to pick up that Photon Coating for the Rhino, as I have other stuff to sell out of, and I think the level 2 Rhino with the Photon might still be able to get some stuff done. On the top left, we sell the Rhino, we replace it with a Crawler. That way this Fortress hopefully will get stuck for a little bit longer, and this diagonal will be open for a little bit more time. We also grab Mechanical Rage. We grab the levels on the Fangs whenever possible. And yeah, this is kind of ideal curve here. If you can get range and mech rage on Fangs, plus some levels on them, by round 5 without losing too many hit points, you should be in a good spot. I think these are the 2 main techs that you should be getting. I know some people are running AP as well. It is a cheap tech. It does give about the same amount of DPS as mech rage. However, mech rage, you know, increases attack speed, therefore decreases overkill, which is definitely worth something. And speed is also very, very nice. You will notice that I do click speed basically every turn from here on out, because it just helps a lot with moving in fast and getting those towers. I do pick up a Fortress level as well. In the end, I want to kind of sell out of all of my Rhinos, replace everything with Fortresses, and ideally triple tech them, you know? Get Barrier, get range, get Overload. I noticed that my opponent didn't have the same tech loadout. He also has Barrier, he also has range, but he runs Double Shot instead, which is a very cheap way to increase your DPS. But again, you know, it doesn't have the benefit of reducing the overkill. And that's what Overload has as an advantage. We're doing quite well on the left side. Fangs seem like they may be able to take down that fortress. That would be very nice. Hopefully my level 2 fortress here in the middle will be able to stop a debuff. Grabs one itself. I will lose a interceptor, it looks like. I put that down to try and prevent my rhino from getting slowed. But sadly, we will lose it. So that's 100 resources down the drain. And now it just comes down to level 2 fortresses facing off now. His one is very, very low on hit points. And I still have some fangs to help me out with the chaff clear. So I win, and on top of that, my fortress levels yet again to level 3. Round number 6, nothing too interesting here. There is Mustang for my opponent. I think that would be a good thing for him to pick up and try to play Mustang Fortress. Again, as I said, I think that Fangs should win that long term, but that's only, you know, if he has a level advantage. He's doing all right for now. You know, he's kind of keeping up in the fortress department. Picked up that barrier, by the way, which he threw on a fortress. So looks like he might not want to click barrier himself, as the item takes precedence over the tech. And while it is bigger than a level 1 fortress barrier, it is only 60k. So if this would be on a level 2 fortress, then you would lose out on some barrier value there. Looks like this round I sold, not quite sure what I sold. I sold something. I guess I sold the Vulcan from the unit drop. And I grabbed myself another fortress, a couple more fangs. You can see that the board now is starting to be really fleshed out. I even started loaning because I wanted to get some, I think, temporary stuff. I wanted to get that temp range, that temp speed. Temp speed more important than anything. But it allows us to get, you know, the level on the fortress as well. Grab the barrier. We're looking at 120k barrier now on the left. An opponent picks up double shot as their first tech. So that's quite a big DPS increase. It's about 85% or so, I believe, for a tech that costs like 100 or 150. So it is quite scary, but at the same time, you know, I have a level 3 fortress on this side. We keep the rhino for the time being. It looks like it won't be too happy though, so that's next on the chopping block, and we'll simply try and transition that item onto one of our fortresses. But yeah, look at this. Level 3 fangs, they have a ton of DPS, hitting for 211 every 1 second, and there's 18 of them in the pack, so it's pretty serious. And as you will notice, 211 is a lot more attack than something like a level 3 Mustang would have, which would be vulnerable to things like armor, but you don't have to worry too much about that when you're into fangs. The only thing I guess that would be able to stop it, and I have played this myself sometimes, is mountain plating on the mountain. That would block 700 damage, which is more than enough to basically counter any type of fang you may encounter. And yeah, it properly messes up the fang player, at least for 1 turn. So if you are struggling, then you can give mountain with mountain plating a go to just fully negate all of the damage that comes from the fangs. A good round here. We are punching back. Habsburg down to 3k. Charged shot picked up on the Arclight. I guess he wants to try and damage the barriers a bit quicker. Ideally here, I do pick up, or I do sell my rhino, and I just go for some more fortresses. We have a level available here. Tons of levels on the fangs. We do want to pick those up as well. Yep, there we go. Rhino has been sold. Missile has been picked up. I try and hit some of those Mustangs in the back. And I also try to put down the underground threat that I have to try and slow down his army as much as possible. Kind of pull back all the chaff and hopefully open up the front side of his army. I would like to go range and double shot, or range and overload, sorry. But I kind of want to do both of them on the same turn, because I feel like if I go range, then my fangs get in front of my fortress too much. And if I just go overload, I might end up getting my fortresses killed because of the lack of range. So I'm still waiting here, just picking up some more fortresses, kind of abusing these diagonals. It's an important thing to do on aggro. When you see they're available, the diagonals can be a very, very good area to push in. And yeah, let's see how this goes. Fortress here is locking onto the enemy. I mean, level 3, it does have a massive stat advantage. So there we go. Things to pick up in the future could also be attack enhancement 2. That would be nice for the fangs. It is a bit expensive though, and as I said, I have other techs that I would like to pick up. It's always a bit of a, you know, a bit of a back and forth between what trade-off do you want. Do you want more techs? Do you want more of the units you already have? Do you want to pick up levels? Do you want attack enhancements? all of that kind of has to be taken into account. Round number 8. Orbital Javelin shows up. Nano Repair as well. I decide to go for the Jav. My opponent decides to go for the Nano Repair. I tried to first go for the left side here, because I can hit 2 fortresses, which, you know, is some good value. And then I decide, you know what, maybe let's just play it safe, because maybe he sells one of the fortresses on the left, maybe he moves another one back. It is the most obvious spot to hit. So I go for the right side instead, kind of expecting my opponent to maybe put a fortress down there as well. It kills the fortress that has the barrier item, so there's that as well. And, I mean, it should help me push in, right? We're already looking at a level 3 fortress here. This one on the left is now level 4. Should allow us to get in. I do go for a crawler on the shallow flank here to prevent any insta-locks on my fortress that is in the corner. And keep in mind, I am not just playing Fangs, right? I am playing some crawlers up front as well. The idea behind this is it's protected by the barrier, so it cannot get missiled. But at the same time, it also prevents an insta-lock onto my fortress if my opponent were to play something like a melter. The crawlers will get targeted, and they'll be able to get out underneath the shield because of their speed. It's just very good to try and mix, you know, some crawlers into your Fang comp whenever you can. Javelin does hit. Looks like we could have gotten more value on the left, but, you know, that's just how things are. Opponent's still only running double shot, not running anything else. Does lock onto my fortress by the looks of things, but it doesn't matter too much. The Fangs are able to win. Left side is winning quite handily now, though, for my opponent, and we do have that nano repair level 2 fortress that we need to deal with. Hopefully the level 3 fortress will be able to take care of it. We have stalled at least enough that it doesn't look like we'll get debuffed. Fortress has locked on, so the level 2 fortress with the item dies. It's a pretty close affair, but keep in mind I haven't yet clicked those 2 buttons that I was eyeing, the range and the overload. So even though we do lose and we go down to 1500, I was feeling quite confident still about our chances. Round number 9, we get unit reinforcements. I'm not looking to get anything here. I'm not afraid of any of these drops either. Phantom Ray armor should not work against the Fangs because they have plenty of damage to get through. And that's a nice bit, right, about playing Fangs. You don't have to worry too much about these type of things. Mountain plating, again, would maybe be an issue, but my fortresses are so high level that I think they would be able to kill at least a level 1 mountain pretty quickly. So we just sell whatever's worth most, that Sabertooth, and we finally grab the triple tech on the fortress with range and overload, drastically improving the fighting capabilities of our giant. And at this point, I was just feeling like the game was close to perhaps won. My opponent would have to find something really specific here to be able to win. I think it would have to be something like a mountain, or perhaps, you know, just going more techs on his fortress himself. He does end up going for that second route, grabs the barrier. For now, this fortress doesn't have a level, so the barrier item actually does provide more protection. But again, if he were to level it, then he would miss out on 20k hit points because the item takes precedence, even if the tech would actually be a stronger effect. And let's see, again, we go for this diagonal. We pick up the levels on the fortresses wherever we can. Temp speed, very important. Temp range at this point also picked up. Just look at how quickly we break through those barriers. I mean, they instantly pop. And my fortresses shoot so much faster now. They kind of help out with the chaff clear in and of themselves. With 5 meters of splash, which is the same as something like a spider, right? Even though spider does shoot faster, but it kind of gives you an idea of what you're working with. Look at how quickly we're pushing on that right side. We grab the debuff. Left side looking a lot better as well. This level 4 fortress, about to be level 5, is just crushing. And this is a fantastic round for us. Doesn't look like it'll be enough to win the game, but it puts us in an awfully solid spot. And I'm not sure what my opponent should do at this point. Round number 10, Ion Blast shows up. Feels like a bit of a must pick. Super strong spell, so I believe both of us here should go for it. The absorption module, I guess, was also an option for my big fortress, but, you know, you kind of have to play for whatever is best. I do notice now that the missile was back. My opponent didn't go for a flank last time around when they tried this. Now I will try and put some barriers back there because I don't want to lose to some type of crawler plus Phoenix. So I have to protect this this Fang. Opponent now picks up a third tech on the fortress as well with the range enhancement. Does have the DPS to match, but does not have that attack speed, right, to chaff clear efficiently, and that could prove to be an issue. We see Ion Blast for me on the left, since that's where the most of his units are, and he decides to use it on my right, which is where most of my fortresses are. We should be able to break these shields quite quickly, though, and this is kind of where Fangs help out a lot. Of course, my opponent does have charge shot arc lights, double shot fortresses, so all in all, his shield break is not that bad. We'll just have to see, you know, whose board has skilled better here. I do go for a missile all the way in the back. Looks like my opponent doesn't want to put down a barrier back there, so we should get some decent value out of that. I also put a crawler in the top right to kind of try and stall his units. As you can see, all of them are in this back right square, which means that they are pullable. And if they get pulled, well, this diagonal here opens up, makes it easier for me to get into the tower. Also makes it easier to lock onto his units, right? You can see all of the crawlers get pulled away, but there's very little chaff to protect these units, and my fortress insta-locks, kills the fortress of my opponent, should allow us to get in. An Ion Blast doing quite well for my opponent, killing a lot of my Fangs. Luckily, my fortress is too tanky to die, but I did lose basically all of my small units. Looks like it didn't do too much on his end, but at least it provided a lot of damage to the barriers. And now we're just marching in, and all that needs to be done is finish off the remainder of the fortresses, which should be quite an easy task. We get that tower, and yeah, now it's just a question of finishing the job. And there we go. Took us 10 rounds, but eventually we do get our comp scaling, and I mean, this is just what Fang Fortress is capable of. Again, I've seen quite a bit of Fangs lately. I've been playing it myself too, even against, you know, some of the strongest players, and it feels strong. You kind of do need a good matchup for it, though. So into like Sledgehammer Arclight starts, you have a decent chance. If your opponent starts with Mustang, or if they start with something like Spider on the line, you can struggle to get things going. And that's the kind of the key with Fangs. You do need them to get levels. If they don't, they're really awful. Of course, the drops do help. We got a fortress this time around, which kind of gives us the best scaling type of composition. You can play this with hackers, though. I have done this, especially on the lead spec. I feel like hackers are more accessible, right? They're a little bit cheaper, and they do also have access to the barrier tech, which is a premium for any aggro comp. Yeah, I mean, that's about it. What should my opponent have done? I mean, typically, if you see your opponent get into Fangs really early, they should be buying Mustang right away. Try and get Mustang range as fast as possible, and then after that, kind of try and see what your opponent does. Right, if they go for something like Rhino, you can try and play Steel Balls or Fortress or Hacker even. Same thing if they go for Steel Balls. If they go for Hacker, I would say Fortress is probably your best bet with the barrier tech to try and kind of, you know, stall those hackers. And if they go Fortress, you can try and mirror Fortress. You can go Mountain with Plating, although I feel like it's a little bit of a last resort type of move. So ideally, you likely just get into Melter. It can be a tricky matchup for sure. Like Fortress can go toe-to-toe with Melter as long as they manage to lock on. But, you know, I feel like those are your options. Just remember to grab the Mustangs a bit earlier, right? My opponent here went for Arc Lights, which does well early on, but then tends to get outscaled later once the comp is, you know, fully fledged out. Anyway, if you liked this video, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down below what you thought of the game. Have you played some Fang gaming yourself, or have you faced it a whole bunch? Let me know. If you want to stay up to date with my latest content, please consider subscribing. And if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.